Good evening.
Oh,
You are kind of spooky in there. You're sitting in the dark there, buddy.
Yeah, that's where occasionally I guess you might see a little orb or something kind of come by. It's
You're just hoping to interact ethereally tonight.
kind of dark. You get in
Yeah.
the whole feeling of it all. So,
Yeah.
well.
I mean, how's your week so far? I know it's only Monday, but how is it?
So it started off with some much needed rain. If we don't get rain here in Texas, it can make for a very, very bad environment down south, like in the where all the deer are and everything else. And so if we don't get rain, we have really bad times in the cattle and everything else. So we had some rain today, which that was needed. I think I was gonna have to call my Native American friends and do a dance or something, but it's going to be that. So,
I think we have your rain tomorrow up here.
Yeah,
I think
they're saying a cool front there. Well, we'll take them as long as we can get them. Speaking of cool things, so the Warren's Paracon 2 is coming back this year.
Yep.
The Mohegan Sun, the big event, the big show.
I mean, I think we have to come up with. I think we have to get some of our merch. Like, I think we got to take stuff for people.
Yeah.
Like we have so many cool things. Like, we might as well take them and share them, right?
Yeah, we had a blast last year, folks. It was a rock star event. Yeah. This year, Dan and the boys are even doing it even better, even bigger.
It's going to be so nice at that location too.
Yes, they just announced Nick Groff and his wife. And so many other, Jeremy Leonard, and then, so many. I've got to look at the banner and see.
And they're bringing all of the items back. So if you didn't come up to see the items last year, now you can come on Halloween and get your picture taken with all
the
VIP
party. Got announced. That was a big thing. So many people you get to meet and so forth.
I'm excited for that.
So. Yeah, that's gonna be really cool. But I will tell you, really big push. We're gonna have some of those people on this show, and so we're looking forward to it a lot because that's really, I would say, to be quite honest, that's gonna be me and Kelly's show.
I mean,
for this year, I'll have other things that we.
I mean, we're gonna be other places, but I mean, I'm telling you what, I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah, that was a rock star event, and I say that by it looked. And I've been to, and of course, I'm a drummer. Anyway, I've been to lots and lots in my time, hundreds and hundreds of concerts. It reminded me of a concert, folks.
Yeah,
people out the door, people waiting to get tickets, people waiting to get inside. Yeah, and they're doing it even in a bigger venue. So I will just tell you this much: start looking at that event. It's the Warren's. The Paracon,
and it's 2022. On Facebook.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's out there already. It's the big stuff. It's a really, really big rock show. I've talked to Dan some already, and man, it's some cool things that are going to be happening. Can't really see too much about that, but what I will tell you is that you can be a part of it. Go on to that, start looking at it, start telling the boss, say, look, I can do anything I can all year long, but I'm going to that Paracon, but not that weekend. I'm going to the, so look at it because it's going to rock. I'm looking forward to it. We had a blast. Me and Kelly was like, afterwards, I think, but it was a really super, super fun event. So
maybe we could talk our guest tonight into going.
That might be the case. Fun. I would think, our guest. Oh, well.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have him on. He's like a buddy of mine, and I've had such amazing experiences with him. I'm looking so forward to having him on.
Kelly, I'm gonna do the rollout.
Go ahead. I'm ready.
No, do the roll. I'm gonna let you run with it because you did so cool right there. I could see your excitement in the way you did it. So bring him to the show, Kelly.
I am so looking forward to chatting tonight. We have the amazing Dr. Don Molnar coming on. So,
you guys. Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. I only get to see Don in events, and we always have a great time. But you just bring a whole different light to the paranormal, and I was so happy that you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That means a lot. Yeah, especially from you guys that are in the fields, for such a long time and all that. It means a lot to me. So I kind of feel like I'm almost like a newcomer in a sense to all this, and so
you just have such amazing, profound things to say and points. And if I know that we always ask at the end how people can follow you, and you can tell them at that time, but you need to follow him. Like, go on to Instagram, especially. You post these amazing, poignant things, and people who want to be well-rounded in the paranormal need to go check out your page. So,
well, thanks. Yeah, and if there's things you want me to talk about or research, feel free to comment. I try to answer all the comments, although lately I've been a little bit behind answering some things, but I try to, have, interactions with everybody that I can. And
yeah, absolutely. So can you tell everybody how you got started?
Yeah, let's do this. Bring it in. Tell us all about yourself. I'm excited.
All right. So a long time ago.
In a land far away, folks.
Very once upon a time.
When the sun rose. And no, so it all I've had things happen to me all my life since I was a childhood, since childhood I've had things happen, various places that we lived, growing up. I'm from Ohio, originally from Lorain, Ohio. Lived there until I graduated from high school. Then I went to Akron, Ohio, and I studied at University of Akron undergrad and did my medical school stuff in that area. And then I actually worked as a physician in Worcester, Ohio. I got done with my training as a physician in 2001. So I've been a physician almost 21 years. So I worked in Worcester for about 6-7 years, and then I moved to Charlottesville in 2009, and I've been in Charlottesville, Virginia since then. And I'm a practicing physician, in case people wonder. I do hospital-based internal medicine, so I do adult medicine up through till you pass away, and actually end up doing a lot of kind of hospice comfort care for patients in the hospital that just aren't going to make it. So that kind of, I always feel like it gets me I feel like I'm on the doorway of this world and the other world sometimes. Yeah. But jumping backwards, as far as this paranormal stuff, I don't know if I'm sensitive. I don't consider myself to be sensitive necessarily, but it seems like I've always had spooky things happen. One of the things I remember from childhood is I would see this child-sized figure of light. It had arms, a head, a neck. I couldn't see any features, which is just light. It wasn't too bright, but it was, you could look at it, but it was this being of light. I'd see it poke around poke its head around the wall and look at me, and I would tell my mom about it. My mom would be like, she would say, well, that's just your guardian angel. And she kind of rolled with it and all that kind of thing. So, but my mom was really open to it, as far as open to like angels and religious type things. And then my dad was kind of the paranormal guy. He was all about Bigfoot and UFOs and ghosts. And pretty much all of my life growing up, we had an open forum to kind of talk about ghost stories. In fact, even now, sometimes my dad's passed away, but when we get together, like me and my sisters and my mom would be like, hey, you got any ghost story? Any ghost things happen to you? So it was kind of like real. So it was like, I had all these experiences. I had this open forum to talk about them, and then it just kind of was always with me. And then I realized in like early 2000s, I was put the TV on and there was ghost hunters. And I was like, holy cow, you can investigate these things that are happening to me?
Amazing. Yeah.
So I started watching all the shows, and I didn't join a team right away. Just because, I slowly got into the investigating. Then when I moved to Virginia, I came across a team in Fishersville, Twisted Paranormal, Ton and Lyle, those guys, and they were looking for somebody. So I joined them in 2012. And then, 2018, I decided I'd like to kind of be able to do my own thing a little bit more and kind of dabble more into like parapsychology things and, and just kind of learn more than just the actual ghost hunting and kind of, and kind of get out and branch out and do my own thing. So then I started Haunted MD in May of 2018, and here I am.
And here you are. Yeah. One thing I think is amazing about your post too is that you will set up, because like you said, you're so closely linked to that teetering back and forth between the worlds based on what you do. And right. I've noticed on your Instagram and things like that you'll occasionally post some evidence that you get from where you work. Yeah, and I think that's amazing, because I know a profound experience that I had just going along with someone to a hospital before. And of course, I see spirit all the time, but to me, it was like my first profound experience there. So I can only imagine with what you do, how impactful those experiences have been, if there are any that you care to share.
Yeah, so where I work now, it's a satellite hospital of the main place I work for. I don't want to mention too much where I work for because I kind of got
sure
because of I don't know. I'll tell you that story real quick. So I did haunted hospitals, right? And I was a haunted hospital is like a small little segment, and I would never mention the hospital or anything like that. But somebody saw it and saw my stories, and they must have knew where I worked. And then they actually contacted where I work, and my job kind of got a hold of me and said, "Hey, don't say anything about you or where you work at and things like that." Yeah. And I said, "Okay, so that's fine." So now I'm a little bit more careful. But anyways, I work for a hospital in Charlottesville. And I work for a satellite where we do long-term acute care where people are on ventilators and wounds and things like that. So, but our office area where we congregate, we don't see patients in there. It's just where our computers are. There's like sleeping area. There's a, TV, kind of a lounge area. And there's 2 sleeping areas, 2 showers. So that area the whole building has activity, but that whole area is crazy. Even today I was working and I was by myself in the office. And you could hear banging and like somebody's in the other room because there's the office. You can't see the whole. It's kind of cut up a little bit, so you can't see like around the corner sometimes. So somebody could be working on a computer around the corner and you don't know it. In fact, I came in the office today. I went down, saw patients. So the office is on the 3rd floor, and the patients are on the 2nd floor. I came back up. I opened the door, and it sounded like somebody had came over because every now and then other doctors will stop over and kind of use our office because it's quiet. I thought somebody came over. So I opened the door and I heard like this noises and almost like typing on the computer. And I go back and there's nobody in there. But I would have swore that somebody came over. But that's like daily. And then, last time I worked a couple weeks ago, I heard a lady's voice in my ear just go, It was weird. And I opened the door right away because I was sitting by the door to the hall thinking maybe there was a lady in the hallway and there wasn't anybody out there. So whatever, there's something about our office. I don't know what it is, but and that's where I'll post a lot of those things like the cat balls going off and the REM pods. And, I've caught figures on the SOS camera that will actually, you can get them to interact with other devices. So, and actually most of the doctors that work with me in that area, we all kind of believe the place is haunted. So, and then the other cool things real quick is, we have motion activated paper towel dispensers. They run by themselves for no reason, just randomly. And then we have motion activated lights in the bathroom. So you got to walk in. You can turn them on by push button, but they're generally on motion activated. So you walk in and they turn on automatically. And those will just come on by themselves. It's pretty crazy. And I tried to debunk it, different shadows, shining lights, things like that. And somebody has to you have to physically kind of walk into these bathrooms. So those kind of trigger. In fact, my one of my doctor friends, he's more religious and all that, and he says I just start praying to Jesus when I he's like, because this office has got stuff in it. I just start praying to Jesus that it goes away.
So that's pretty interesting. You brought up some stuff, and I'll ask. It's kind of a 2-part question. Number one, do you guys have those closed circuit TV cameras in the hallways that kind of pick up like people walking the hallways, and there's kind of like for a security purpose? And
they have some scattered around, but not a whole lot. And I don't even know where they monitor them because I see them more on the 1st floor. So our building that I'm in, like I said, it's a smaller satellite hospital. So there's only 3 floors. So on the 1st floor, there's definitely cameras. The 2nd floor, there's not a lot. And I'm trying to think on the 3rd floor. I don't really. It's mostly the 1st floor. They have the security cameras, kind of monitoring the doors where you would come in.
Yeah.
The 3rd floor, no.
So, do you think it's a possibility that you may have had a, obviously patient HIPAA, ghost HIPAA, that you've ever maybe have had an attachment to somebody that you really helped? And they went in from being very sick to hospice care. And in their final days that maybe they kind of held on to you, not wanting to let go and pass over. You think that's possible?
I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, it could be multiple. I've had some people tell me that like on my Haunted MD page, they'll say, you got multiple attachments. And I'm like, what? So I don't know, but it's possible. I mean, I have had on a couple occasions where patients have died, and then all of a sudden there'll be activity in the office either that day or within a couple of days of them dying. And there was one in particular a couple of years ago. I started to have like the REM pod going off in one of the bathrooms. And I said, I started going through like, are you male, female, all this other stuff. It turned out to be a male. And, I can't say any names, but it turned out to be based on the REM pod interactions that it was the spirit of this man who had passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, I was blown away about it on that. So yeah, it was pretty intelligent. It wasn't like one hit on REM pod. It was like it was like consecutive, like 3 or 4 consecutive, like right on, hits on the REM pod. So now I gotta say something. We can't officially investigate, so I kind of bring equipment in, just small stuff, but we're really not supposed to be investigating there, I guess. But the ghost investigator part of me, I can't just not bring equipment in,
Well, especially when you've had all these experiences and you're very professional about it. As you said, you keep it in your office and things like that you're kind of not filming anyone else. But I think it's amazing how that energy resonates. And Tracy, my good buddy Tracy, has a question. She said, have you had any patients close to the end that are seeing deceased individuals?
Oh, yes. Trying to think. The one that sticks out in my mind. This actually was at where I used to work before I work now. This older lady, we had placed her on comfort care, and she didn't really have a whole lot of family. So I was checking on her pretty, periodically, and I went in the room and she was looking at the ceiling, and she had this really big smile on her face and kind of wide-eyed. And, and I had to ask her. And at this time, I really wasn't into the paranormal as much as I am now. And I wish I would have been, because it would have been cool to even get more, ask her more questions. But I'm like, I couldn't help myself. I had to say to her, like, what are you seeing? Or what are you seeing? Because she was like looking up. She goes, don't you see the angels are coming? And I'm like, what? So I look up and I didn't see any angels. And the nurse walked in and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, so she's seeing angels above the bed. And the nurse looked too. And she's like, I don't see any angels. And she really wasn't. I mean, she wasn't like on a bunch of drugs at this point, and she was pretty comfortable. So I walked out with the nurse, and I'm like, I think she's probably going to pass pretty soon. And she ended up passing later that day, like in the evening. But she, I mean, for all purposes, she looked like she was seeing the angels flying above her, and so that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's amazing. And she has a follow-up question as well. She says, "What amount of physicians do you think experience stuff like this in hospitals?"
I think a fair amount of folks do. Probably greater than 50%, 75%, somewhere around there. You'd be surprised. I'm surprised how many folks come up to me and start talking about it. They're like, "Hey, I heard you're in a ghost," and even people that are like, I was shocked. One of my good friends, one of my internal medicine friends, he's like into research and kind of really just kind of down to earth, kind of. I never kind of guessed him as like a paranormal guy, and he goes, "Hey, man." He goes, I like what you're doing. I watch your YouTube stuff, and he started talking about he's actually Indian, and he was talking about the Hindu religion and their philosophy about the different levels of ghosts and things. But I think a lot of doctors have experiences, but they won't talk about it in mixed company. It has to be something that they come to me, I think, because they know I'm open to it. But I think a lot of people keep it to themselves. But since I've been doing this, I really haven't got a lot of pushback. I haven't anybody really say like, you're why are you doing this and what's wrong with you? Everybody's like, hey, I got a story for you. Even people that I'm shocked, are like, they're like, hey, I'm really interested in that, and tell me more about what you do and all this other stuff. So,
I think the last few years when, all health concerns and so many passings of friends and family members have been so closely, in order and succession of time. I think people are experiencing more of these things. I would think medical staff especially is experiencing more of these things. And then to be able to finally, be open to talking about them, or have family know that you're comfortable with those sorts of things and come to you and talk to you and say, like you said, I know what you do. And that's always a great phrase, to hear. And I think
the other thing too is when it comes to health professionals, nurses are much more open about it, and they definitely seem to have a ton of experiences, although, and I think they're more likely to talk about it than physicians are. And it seems like nurses have more experiences than physicians do, but a fair amount of physicians are pretty open to it. So,
yeah. Oh, well, that's great. Keith, can you see Robin's question?
Yeah. So Robin, Kel, and of course Tracy, and my friend Tanya Booker are all here, and we love them all. So Robin asks, have you actually seen a soul leave a person?
I haven't seen something, but let me tell you about it. I'll tell you about a cool experience I had. We had a guy who coded. He was on getting dialysis, and they do dialysis at our place. And he went out. His heart stopped. He stopped breathing. We had to do CPR on him. You know, as a doctor, when you're running the code, you kind of stand at the foot of the bed and you're kind of directing everybody. Do CPR, get the shocks, get the medications, and all those kind of things. So you're kind of looking at looking up at the patient from the feet to the head, and then the wall was kind of behind me. So we were coding this man for about 12 minutes to 15 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, I felt this rush of energy come from behind me and kind of go around me and through me. It was like a wind with static electricity, and I don't know how to describe it. It was very weird. And it wasn't an air conditioning vent. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't somebody moving behind me because the wall was behind me. But it was just this rush of energy, wind of energy that kind of went past me, through me, towards the patient. And then all of a sudden, right after that went through me, we got his pulse back. And then eventually he became, we got him back, to a point where he was back to the living. Now, when at our place, when somebody does that, we send them to the main hospital because we're not really equipped to handle somebody that has unless it's a real simple code, like they had something blocking their windpipe and we got it unblocked. But generally, if you do a full go code where your heart stopped and your lung, and we had to do a bunch of CPR, we're usually sending them to the main hospital to get a workup to figure out what exactly happened and to keep an eye on them. So I didn't get a chance to really talk to him afterwards. But to me, it struck me as when you hear about near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences where people say they were out of their body and then they had to be rushed and they felt a rush and were back in their body. It almost struck me as that guy's soul rushing back into him, just because it just struck me as what people describe with near-death experiences, like they were told to go back or had to go back and then they flew into their bodies. And that's what it seemed like to me. So I didn't see it, but I definitely felt this crazy energy. And, I'm a little skeptical, but I would say it felt like his soul went back into him, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. Oh, well, I think that's so interesting too, because as you said, the wall was behind you. So it couldn't have been another person. And I know, even with your medical mind, especially with what you highlight on social media, you can relate that immediately to that paranormal investigator mind. So you're ruling out those things as that's happening,
it was pretty wild. There wasn't a natural explanation for it. I'd say 99% sure that it was something, metaphysical.
So. The dialysis guy could have been hyperkalemia. Sometimes that's a pretty common cause for.
I think too. He dropped his blood pressure. I think the problem was he dropped his pressure.
Too much fluid off the dialysis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What I didn't tell you is I've been a paramedic since 1991.
Oh yes, yeah.
I retired from Houston Fire. I've been
very cool.
Yeah.
So what we do is we get them back, and then the paramedics actually come. So if a code goes off at our place, we work the code until we got them to whatever's going to happen. And if they survive it or we get them back, then the paramedics come and take them to the hospital for us. So we transition over care to the paramedic teams.
Very good.
So sometimes they'll help out. Sometimes if we're having a hard time with something, the paramedic guys will jump in and if they got to tube them or something like that.
I've been asked to tube, and many doctors look, I haven't done this in a decade, man. You got this? I'm like, I need a Mac 4 with a 7.52. Okay, Keith. So everything you're saying, it just gives me chills. So at 13 years old, I had my own near-death experience. I had an anaphylactic reaction to a medicine. Oh, wow. I had edema to the airway, stopped breathing. By the time that they got my mom and aunt out of the grocery store, I had lost my pulse. So I spent from what the doc said in the ER, a good 20 minutes. And I was in a beautiful place. So when I left there, and my grandmother was like, okay, you have to leave now. You can't stay. I started being able to hear, and then I felt the same thing, that painful in your chest, the compressions were done, and that screaming of everybody around you. And before, I didn't have that. And so that's why when the things you say, and even with what the other has said about somebody leading them to the other side.
Yeah, I've seen first. I've had some experience with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. 5 minutes before my brother passed in 2017 from cancer, he literally was looking at me and my sister. He was very calm at that moment, as if he was at peace with where his destiny was. And he said, hey, brother, can you see Dad's right there waiting on me? And he was looking up at the ceiling, and everybody was like, what? And I said, no, I know what he's saying. And then he looked around the room and gave me a big wink and said, I'll see you. And then he went on. And let me tell you, it was after that, I knew. But there's that beauty that we have of when we do pass, of not being in pain anymore, not suffering, not struggling or anything else. So with what Robin's saying about family does come to lead them to the other side, I will tell you, if one person knows for sure, it's Robin. I will tell you, she has, I just have to, probably one of the most paranormally active, constant activity location that I've ever had the privilege of getting to see and at my own experiences. And and I'll tell you, and she talks to them like a living room experience. Hi, Robin. And they're just there, and they come and go. Hello. And they just talk to her. But I'll also tell you, being the fact that if something that not so friendly there, those other spirits is like, you have to leave, because it's a room of love and light. And I tell you, geez, she just does have that gift. She does, because the spirits love her. She gives back to them in a way of being respectful. And man, if you haven't got a chance to talk to Robin Kell or look at her page or anything else, she's got the stuff and real.
Check it out. I have to write that down. That's right. She's describing deathbed visions. Yeah, and those are fairly common, especially if you talk to hospice folks. Often people see their loved ones come, or religious figure comes for them. Close to the time of death. I know recently, this was a few months ago, I had a patient pass away, and her grandson was sitting in a room with her, and she passed away. And I just asked him, like, did she have anything happen before she passed? Because I was just curious. And he goes, yeah. She started talking to her husband and all that, and and as if he was there. So yeah. So the near death or the deathbed visions are fairly common occurrences. Well, that's like that lady that was seeing the angels. That was like a deathbed vision for her. And there's research into those. I know University of Virginia has the Department of Perceptual Studies, and they do research into near death and deathbed visions and previous lives, reincarnation, and all those kind of things.
There's a lot of people that speak of those, and it's amazing of how some of it is getting to be more researched and looked into.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I got to tell you also now, it makes me think. So there are people in society who walk the streets who are talking to themselves, right? It almost makes me think, are they actually talking to their deceased brothers in war who passed with them? And they're right there. They said, it's my colleague. He was killed in front of me in Vietnam. And he's talking to him. So I almost get to think, and even I've in my day transported people with mental health issues, and they said, it's demons. They're around me. They're telling me to take my life. And in all actuality, that's really what a demonic entity wants, is for you to join their tribe, right? Yeah. So yeah. I tend to think how much of it is that it's a possibility that they really are having that, and maybe they're not as crazy what we think, that we just throw medicines at them. Just keep him sedated and he'll relax and it'll all be fine.
Yeah, and I've heard some theories recently about that people with mental illness like that, especially like schizophrenia or bipolar with hallucinations, that they may be more prone to experiencing paranormal, or they may be vulnerable to more paranormal energies. So I don't know. I don't know enough to talk about it intelligently, but I know there's different folks who are kind of looking at that they may be more
open,
more targets. They might be more of a target for the evil spirits or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, and even existing in a oppressive states. They've already had an invite. It's came into their life. And then next thing you know, they living with this. So I see Courtney Peterson. She's got something. I've always wondered how people hold on till they see their loved ones before they die. It's crazy, but also it's
common.
It's interesting.
That is common. Yeah, people will either see somebody or for something to happen. It's kind of interesting, and it's weird. They'll just wait and hold on, and then that person will show up, or or an event will pass, like an anniversary, and then that person will pass on. The other thing that's interesting that happens near the time of death is people get I call it the last stand effect. All of a sudden they get this like burst of energy where they actually look better and feel better for like a brief period of time, usually within like 24 hours before they die. And sometimes even as a physician, I start doubting myself because, you'll talk to the family and say, I think we should just make them comfortable and stop. We can't, nothing we can do to fix them. And you'll kind of go through this whole thing and, everybody will get on board with you, and then you'll stop all their medicines and stop tube feeds, whatever's going on. And then all of a sudden they perk up and they look better, and you're like, uh-oh, did I make a mistake? But then it's usually brief. Maybe it lasts for, 4 or 5 hours, and then sometimes a day, then they'll usually end up passing. But it's a weird thing that happens. It's like the body's last hurrah.
Yeah, the last stance, it's all its little subters are like, hold on, we can do this. But are really going on to a better place. And that place, I guess, us in the paranormal is what we keep looking towards. Are we potentially going to have a living room experience one day to where we can have literally, a 140-inch screen TV to where we have all the right tech equipment that when we say, okay, Mom, can you come through? And then she comes through in that type spectral type, presence, maybe and manifest. And then we have a box that we can hear her voice. And she says, hi, everyone. I mean, we're getting so close with all these little here, a little there. I keep thinking, I was watching Bigfoot last night on the show, and they've got this LiDAR type technology now.
Yeah. You watch Expedition Bigfoot?
Oh, do I? I'm a huge.
Yeah, that's a good. I watch it too.
And I put out I'm a tech junkie. I'm like, LiDAR. I gotta have that camera.
That LiDAR was pretty cool. With that image LiDAR, they got.
When they got that, if you look at it, I'm just gonna be. I have to be because of what it's on it. Go back and look how detailed they go from the head down the body to the chest and between the chest and the feet of it. Very much looking as if it was a male. It was a male Bigfoot.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Go back and look. I was like, cool. Well, that's pretty high def if they could see that. And it was, of course, when he caught it, I think that thing was right there in the brush hiding, and then it made its little stance, and then it captured it, and then off it goes, disappearing. But they're saying that they can cloak now. They're saying they're able to kind of just do their little thing, and then they just. And is that I mean, think about it. If we could use that technology in the paranormal as we see these apparitions and these shadow figures, there has to be some sort of mask, right? Because look at how they black out a white light. Okay. So there's a mask there. So if there's a mask there, then certainly with that LiDAR, it's potentially we could see that. So maybe with the LiDAR technology and then coming through that our loved ones could be on that TV and they come through and say, hi, Kelly, I'm here. And you go, hi, Mom, I see you now. I'm just fascinated. I keep looking, what if one day, how much more, what are we, but then again, also it's like, they can only tell us so much. I think the rules of the universe is, we can't give them all the answers. We can't tell them. They're going to have faith and find out when they get here of what's here. We can't tell them everything. It's not allowed. It's like a universal law or policy or something.
It's weird how you can't get more interaction with spirits, and how it's only brief when you do get it. And and it's weird too with spirit. It's like there's so many different ways that kind of. You get they manifest either sounds or voices or The other day I was actually out. We were talking about Steve Dills earlier. Transcend had an event at Patrick Henry Scotchtown, and I was there with Richard was one of the Transcend guys, and he was kind of taking me. I bought a ticket. I just went as a regular person, and it wasn't like a guest or anything. But he took me around kind of on his own, a special little tour, and we were standing in this one room, one of the bedrooms, and there was for a split second, I thought I saw a man standing there, and Richard saw it too, so we both saw this. But what I'm getting at is just amazing, like how many different ways they can manifest, but it's interesting why it can only be so brief, and there must be. You're right. There must be some rules to it. Why they're so limited with their interaction with us.
And Doctor, did you see Tracy's question too? She asked if you ever had a soul try to comfort you when you were tending to a patient.
Not that I know of. I'm not. I don't think I'm super psychic or anything, so it'd be hard to know unless I felt some energy. I did. So an interesting thing, I guess, along those lines was this is more of a feeling thing I got. Almost more like a psychic kind of thing, I guess, is a patient ended up passing away. He coded and we didn't get him back. But he was a younger guy and he was like really, 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 really sick. And his family had been staying with him, but they left. And it was almost as if he was waiting for them to leave before letting something happen because his family left and he coded. We couldn't get him back, so we called the family right away to say, come on back. And we kept trying to do CPR. The family wasn't too far away till he got back. And so we kept doing CPR. We never got him back, but we did CPR just kind of to try and at least wait for the family to come in. So family came in and, they were all upset and tearful, and I felt pretty bad about it. I was in a room with him and his family, and I had this amazing sense of like this amazing vibe or feeling that like this is going to sound, I feel like this, I kind of sound crazy saying this, but as a physician, but I felt this vibe, like he spoke to me, like, in my mind that I'm okay. Don't worry. Because it was time for me to go. I know my family's upset. Tell them I'm okay. I'm not upset that you couldn't save me. I was tired of being sick. So that was kind of the vibe I got. That's not exactly, I didn't hear that exactly, but that was the feeling I got. So it was like, in a sense, it felt like his soul might have been speaking to me. And then, so the family had a really hard time. They kept checking in after he passed away and had a lot of questions with me and then his primary doc. So I usually don't say too much to the families unless they bring it up. But I said to the family member, I'm like, I usually don't say this, but I want you to know what I felt while I was in the room with him, that I feel like he's not suffering anymore. And he wanted you to know it's okay. And I think that person just really needed to hear that, so it was cool to be able to tell this person because they were really having a hard time with the passing, even though the patient had been sick for a long, long, long time. And probably his prognosis wasn't good to live even a year anyways. But I finally just spoke up and said, hey, I just want you to know, I think he's okay. And he wants you to know that. And that was like the huge weight off of that person's mind and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. Now, as far as the spirits guiding me while I'm seeing patients, not that I know for sure, but sometimes you get these weird feelings that clue you in on things, whether it's a intrinsically psychic feeling you get, or whether something's giving you something otherworldly is giving you the clues, and I don't know. But there's times where you kind of like are able to put the pieces together that it's kind of comes to you out of nowhere,
Yeah. And I wonder too, I mean, just from all the experiences I've had alongside you at different events and things, what has been, now it doesn't have to be, in the hospital or while you're tending patients, but what has been the most prominent experience for you since you started becoming an investigator? What did you have an experience that really jumped out at you that you had personally?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's been some, probably, this, probably, seeing like that one, that seeing these brief apparitions. I've seen them like a couple times. The Patrick Henry one was pretty interesting. And then when I first was investigating with Twisted Paranormal, it was a couple years into it, and we were doing a place here in Virginia, and I saw a brief, like an apparition of a man standing outside behind his house. I remember he had like a white shirt and blue jeans and kind of like a was like a 1950s crew cut. You kind of like, you like to have the cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve. And just for a split second, I saw it, and I kind of did one of those double takes and got up right away and started looking for who it could have been. And there wasn't anybody that fit the description. And either everybody was in the house or everybody was out in our home. We had set a home base out in a tent outside. So everybody was kind of accounted for. But for a split second, there was this man standing behind the house. And it turns out that when I told the owners about it, they're like, oh, that might have been Grandpap. He was the one that added on. The original house was built. It was Thomas Jefferson's sister's house.
Oh, okay.
So it dated back to that time period. And they had put in a modern addition on for like a bathroom and a kitchen and stuff like that. So when I told the owners, they're like, well, that sounds like that was Grandpap who put the addition on the house. Aww. So those kind of things are pretty profound. I think other things that kind of really convinced myself about the existence of ghosts is EVPs. When you catch these EVPs out of nowhere, especially the Class A ones that just blow you away, or like every time I get one of those, it's like wow, holy cow, this thing like there's something talking to me and all this other stuff.
Well, we had that happen at the Hoover House. You speak of that, and Kelly was so. And I'll pose you this question: do you think spirits have emotions? So here we go. At the Hoover House with Kelly and Carly Hall and a bunch of James and Carl Johnson. So there we are. And I did a little session upstairs in a really cool room, just touch, kind of getting a meet and greet. And this one female spirit, she came through. Hello. And we got to talking. It was very friendly, and it was nice interactions. I was like, thank you. Very kind of you. Well, the next thing you know, my friend walked in, Carly Hall. I said, oh, I wanted to introduce you to Carly Hall. Well, let me tell you the response I got, and I'll go ahead and tell it to you pretty clear. The response from the spirit was, fuck you.
I can believe it.
So I was like, hey, wait a second now. Be nice. So later that night,
Wes has a comment for you.
Yeah,
he was there too.
Yeah. So later that night, I'm up there and I'm like, oh, we had been investigating, did some really cool stuff. Well, next thing you know, I'm up in there in that room and I dozed off. It was late, 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I'm there. And next thing you know, not being Steve Berry and some of those people that are there, I thought maybe he was playing a little prank. I felt somebody like grab my ankle and pull me. Now I'm talking about with force. Now this is the first time this has ever happened in all of my life ever. Ever. Pull me, and I grab at the front of the bed like this, and I'm halfway down. And let me tell you, I come out of that bed, Texan, 6'5". I'm looking to kick somebody's ass. I was not happy. I said, who in the beep? And I looked down there, there wasn't nobody. And then I realized.
It wasn't me, but I took credit for it.
I realized, I said, okay, I tell you what, you got it. That's fine. This is it, though. It ends right now. We're done. You're mad? I'm sorry. Well, the funny thing about it is,
I'm sorry.
2 minutes later, across the hall, they're going, hey, open up. Open the door. Let us in. Hey, open that door. Somebody, and this is not possible for me, was inside the room, turned the lock from the inside, locked it. They couldn't get in the room.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, hey, who's in there? Nobody was in there. So as it turned out, she said, okay, I'll show you guys. You want to be mean to me? So that was some of the crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
And listen, I'll be the first to tell you if I call BS on something. It happened. Yeah. I was mad. I looked around. I was like, okay, this is crap. But after that, I laid down the law. I said, that's it. It ends. We're done. You got it. It's done. I'm sorry I upset you. And then after that, nothing ever happened at all.
Well, I think for me, like being a science guy, when something like physical happens, like, either something getting moved or touched, or if you I use these cat toys, when they were like, they got to be stimulated. So when something mechanical happens, or the motion sensor, so recently my sister came to visit from Ohio. My sister and my niece, they came down a couple weekends ago, and they're like, hey, can you take us to a haunted place? And they don't investigate, but they're interested. So I took them to this place called Miller Kite in Elkton, Virginia, and we get a lot of activity there and all that. So I was like, well, and it's a Civil War place. It's a It was built like in 1850s. Stonewall Jackson used it for headquarters during the Valley Campaign for a brief period of time. There was some soldiers, some prisoners there, some soldiers there. The people who, one of the son, I think the son who fought in the Civil War died. He didn't die in the house, but he lived in the house and died during the Civil War. Anyways, I took my sister there. And what I'm getting at is I set up some motion sensors. I got these pretty good motion sensors that I like. I think they're from Paratronic, but they're 360 motion sensor. So and they make a loud noise when they go off. So I went up to the second floor. I put the motion sensor, came down. My sister and my niece were on the first floor, kind of wandering around. No sooner did I set that thing up, and it started going off. It wasn't just like a little bleep. It was like, beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, can you do that again? Bleep, bleep, bleep. So to me, when you have something like that happen, that's detecting something physical, besides just like energy, like a K2 meter or whatever, that means a lot to me. So then we took that motion sensor after we went upstairs to the second floor, put it down on the first floor, and then wouldn't you know it started going off again down there. It was just crazy. And but those kind of things really convinced me. And, the EVPs, the physical stuff, motion sensors, something that has to be physically touched, like the cat toys. I mean, those kind of things, it's like hard, as a guy of science, it's hard to kind of dismiss some of that stuff, and, like I know when it comes to like the K2s and the energy sensors, people can be like, well, there's your cell phone, walkie-talkies, all that kind of crap. But, when it's something that has to be touched or it's sensing motion that shouldn't be there, I mean, those kind of things are pretty compelling to me, I think.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about some of the meters and K2s.
But I like the meters too, don't get me wrong.
Right, I do. I do too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that beat them up. I mean, they kick them and throw them and punch them and call them bad names. They're nothing but they're throwing, they're this, you're stupid, you're, on and on and on. I get it. Here's the thing, though. What environment are you in? If you're in an absolutely, totally non-supported building with no electricity, no energy, no nothing, it ain't got no more than a fly and a bat on the wall, and no way of these things being manipulated, and you start asking questions and they're going all the way to red, probably more likely, and they're like 10 feet away from you, there's not even a possibility that a phone could even pass gas and make it go off. So it's impossible, and it starts to activate. Probably more likely than not, that's not normal. So it only leads to really one other thing.
Well, and I agree with you too. You got to put it in context, and if you're getting direct interactions, that's why I kind of get frustrated. I feel like I'm in this in between of scientific, hardcore scientific research of paranormal versus, using the gadgets. I think, like what Keith is saying, that you got to put it in context. If you got the REM pod going off and it's directly answering your questions and nobody's using walkie-talkies, you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's no electricity, there's cell phones are on airplane or off, and you're getting quick, direct interactions. I don't know. People are like, well, it could be random. I'm like, it's got to be,
That's right.
Really, I don't know. I think you got to know your equipment and know what sets it off and what doesn't, and what's normal, what is not normal. And so do you know Wes Coleman? Sounds familiar. I don't know if I ever
this guy's a pretty good guy. I mean, he little rough on the eyes, little rough. I mean, but he's a nice guy. And no golf for sure. He's Canadian. No. We love Wes.
That sounds familiar. I think I might have met
this guy Wes. He's a nice guy. He was there. You're talking about a comedian. He's more funny in person than he is even when you're doing like right now. But geez, we had some really good stuff there at that Hoover House. We must have all had our collective fun energy because we were having some stuff. I mean, whoa. Somebody else, well, guess what I had happen? I was waiting for something like a portal in a wall to just open up, and these spirits come right through. I mean, at any moment. But Pam, it didn't happen that night. But it didn't happen. We're going back.
One can always hope.
So Pam and Steve, Don, if you've never been, we need to get a trip and come along as our guest. And I'll even see if Wes will be there so you can hang out with him as well. And then with James and Carl, go back and do it again because
sure.
This place, we'll just have a list of the the folks we really want to be there, and we'll talk. But you're talking about a fun place, and I want to go back to that room because I got business with Florence.
Is that in Gettysburg?
It's in Waynesboro.
It's not far.
Waynesboro, PA. Okay. So south of Gettysburg.
Yeah, that's not too far away.
Well, so there you go. So we got it. So, but it's a great place. We had an amazing time, and I think you would love it as well. So
yeah.
Now, absolutely. Are you going to be, speaking of great times, are you going to the bash?
Yes, I am. I'm supposed to talk. I think I'm talking Saturday night about Haunted MD.
Okay, well, good. I'm excited, folks. Live and in concert, one show only. Tickets are going fast. If you don't have them, you're at a loss.
I actually got to book my room. It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about that today. I got to book a room.
Book a room, grab a room. Robin Cale's going to be live and in concert at the bash.
Yeah. Wes is coming down for the bash.
Coming. Wes is coming. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be 2022 concert live, sold out. Get your tickets while they last.
It's going to be really
it's a good. And actually, the bash is it's a great event. I mean, there's so many people from so many great paranormal people from famous people to not so famous people, and they got all kinds of different things, and it goes to a good cause for Wounded Warrior, and they have all kinds of if you need to purchase books or equipment or things like that, there's all kinds of things for sale, and usually got pretty good food.
Yeah, music. I've got some friends that are going to be there that I'm close with. If you haven't ever met them, I'd love to introduce you.
Sure thing.
Yeah. So it's going to be a great time, and I'm so looking forward to it. If you had to say, and I wanted to ask this because where do you think you see the paranormal field going from here, as far as the way things are now, and as far as be it in technology, be it in investigative styles, or what's your thoughts? I mean, do you think, what's your thoughts on the future of the paranormal if you had to say within maybe the next year, maybe 3 years, and even 5 years?
It's hard to say. It seems like more folks are trying to put out good evidence and are being really, trying to really pick apart their stuff they put out and put out good evidence instead of just, every piece of dust is something. So I think that I kind of see it where people are being, more skeptical and trying to put out good evidence and kind of really asking good questions, and that kind of thing. I'd like to see, a bridge between like parapsychology folks and the paranormal folks, because it seems to be this, even though both groups are kind of looking for the same thing, there seems to be this, this kind of wall, like, parapsychology folks are, they kind of look down on the paranormal folks, and like the hobbyist paranormal folks, and then the paranormal folks that are going out doing the ghost investigations may or may not know much about the parapsychology, or they, kind of, look down on those folks. It'd be nice to kind of bring everybody's data together and look at it, because, especially for me, I feel like I'm on kind of bridging that gap also of parapsychology versus, going, versus paranormal investigating, on a more amateur level kind of thing, or as a hobby kind of thing. And it'd be nice to bring those worlds together and have them work together and compare notes and things like that. Hopefully we get better equipment. It looks like, every day I see different new equipment coming out that's, geared more towards paranormal investigating, special cameras, special gadgets that are, supposed to be more focused on catching anomalous energies versus just, normal energies that could be throwing that kind of thing out. Yeah. But I think it seems like more and more people are starting to kind of lean towards being more scientific, trying to put good information out there. It seems like more people are trying to work together more than maybe they used to. Like there used to be a lot of tribalism, I guess, like, we're better than you and you're better than this. And it seems like I noticed, at least in the Virginia area here, that more and more people are trying to really come together and work together and, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'd be good to see, teams working together, comparing notes, putting their evidence out together and all that, if that makes any sense.
That's my prayer too. I'll be very honest, because, at the end of the day, if Don Haunted MD somewhere and he's, oh man, Keith, you wouldn't believe what I was able to document. Can you take a look at it and maybe put eyes on it and see what you think? because just like doctors, when you are here and hey Don, hey, this is Chuck. Hey, I don't run a case by you. I got this 54-year-old female, kind of got some vague abdominal pain, been going on for about a month now. I've ran the battery of tests, haven't had any real significant findings. What's your thoughts? What would you do different? You guys run cases against each other all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he's like, I would probably really do this. And you're like, you know what? That's a good idea. I appreciate it. And the reason why is because you just don't want to miss anything.
Exactly.
You got this patient who never complains of anything. She's coming in, and one of the most common things that gets missed, especially in the ER setting, is something like, a cancer some way buried away somewhere in the tummy, and it's very hard to get in there. You're not going to see it from this view, but you go run this other test, and you say, "Wow, look what we found!" And thank God, because we found it maybe in an early stage. So that's why you dig a little deeper, you find out that more crucial evidence, and you think, wow, I think we really have something here. So that's really my prayer as well, that we start to look at things from a perspective of us colleagues in this field, and we really do, whether we say we do or not, we really should be in this field to help people. The ones that are out there that are the people in these homes who call us and say, oh my God, I have something horrible in my house. It's this figure. It's moving forth. It's scaring my daughter. When we get that call, that's that time to where we put our game face on. We go out there and try to give them some resolve. So I do it to help people. I do enjoy going to the big places that have the spooky things. That's where I think I get a lot of my training from. I can screw up there, but when I go to a house and I find these answers, and I say, look, this is what we found, I really want to make sure I put my time and effort in to give them the best answers I can.
I think another thing that might help too with the paranormal community versus parapsychology is having a way to write up your findings or share your findings. So many of us go out there and we collect all this evidence and video and audio, and we kind of review it and it kind of fades away. But it'd be nice to somehow, if you had like a organized group or organization that you could, write up your findings and your evidence and, and have it there as like a library of stuff. Cause, a lot of teams are catching good stuff, but if you don't, and you see it briefly as opposed, and then it kind of gets lost.
Well, there is a guy, his name is Bob Burnell. He normally watches our show. He does have a page, and it is a bit of a collective. And people that do go on there and share it and say, look what I was able to find, and see what you think. And, Robin knows who I'm talking about. Bob's a good guy, extremely intelligent.
I think that name sounds familiar too.
Bob Burnell, he's out there. He always gives a lot of attaboys to a lot of people. You love Bob because he's just such a kind soul, and very sharp. And he has that kind of that collective where people put evidence there, and then people can kind of chime in and say, here's my thoughts, or here's what I see. And sometimes people say, wow, did you not see this? And you're like, oh, wow, look at that. So you're getting people in there saying, good old Bob, love Bob, really great guy. He is and Wes even says that Bob is a very smart man. He is. And he's one of our Love and Light listeners from the very beginning. And we always, so if there's a name out there that I'll say, if I had to think of one guy who I got a lot of love and respect for, it is Bob Burnell. I never mind if he gives me a little insight with things. We all need those things at times to where we really say, what, Bob, that's a good point. I should really look at that. He's just that bright. So,
and aside from his page too, I wanted to ask you before we wrap for the night what your pages are, so that everyone can
God, tell us.
All right, here we go. So my main page where it all began is it's Don Molnar, or Haunted MD on Facebook, kind of like how it is on the screen there, Haunted and then MD period, D period. Then I have a YouTube is Don Molnar Haunted MD, and then I have an Instagram. My Instagram is my newest media. I've been doing it the last year or two. And then on Instagram, it's Haunted, small h, HAUNTED, underline mark, and an MD on there. So I pretty much post similar things and everything, but every now and then I'll mix it up a little bit. And then, yeah, so that's what I got now. I'm still have on my list of things to do to build a web page. I just haven't quite got there. I started doing it and I got to finish it. And
well, if you have a Facebook page for you, that's a free web page. You don't have to pay for that. So that's a smart thing.
Yeah. So my Facebook and Instagram are probably the main things I kind of post to. And then if I have video, I post it to YouTube. But like today I did a written out post about, skeptical, not being overly too skeptical, and we don't always have the answers. So when I write it out, I just post it on Facebook and Instagram. But my videos I usually post on the YouTube and everything else. I thought about doing TikTok, but I don't know. It's kind of gets me too much. You guys do TikTok?
Haunted TikTok.
I've tried TikTok several times, and it's,
haunted
MD. Yeah, that's right. So you could go on.
The only person who does it is probably Brandon Johnson.
It's
Michelle. Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson.
Yeah.
And Michelle LeBaron.
Yes.
There's two people. That's it. Yeah. That's it. There's two people.
But
everyone else pales in comparison that I know.
I don't know that I have the time. I'm not as tech savvy as either one of them. So I don't know that I have the time to try to figure it out. But I think, it's definitely interesting. And there's a lot of people in the paranormal community on it. So you should just join just to check it out and watch
Don, do you know Michelle LeBaron?
But
name sounds familiar. I don't know if I met her, but the name sounds real familiar.
She's the ghost magnet. She's a sweetheart. I love her.
I think I do know. I think I've seen her stuff on Facebook.
She's got a lot of stuff. The spirits come to her and just sit down around her. She really does have a spiritual magnetism to the other world. They so many times say, "Who's with you right now?" This is like buildings I don't even think she's ever been to yet. And they're like, Michelle LeBaron. They say her name.
Wow.
And she has some of the funniest TikToks too, because it's not all serious stuff on there. So she has some funny things.
I'm talking about you need to probably she's that funny.
And do you have any events coming up, Don, that you want to share at all, or things?
Where you going?
So I got May 15th or 14th. I'm going to be at Brandy Station at the Psychic Fair.
Okay.
I'm going to be there just on Saturday. I think it's an all-weekend event, but Christy and Donnie Parker for Spirit Guides are putting it on, and I'm going to be talking about Christy wanted me to talk about near-death experiences and deathbed visions. So I'm going to do a little talk on that, and then on the week of May 20th to the 22nd, I'm going to be
Are you going to be with me?
Yeah, are you there? Are you going to be there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm talking. I was just looking at the schedule. They actually may be like the last talker on Sunday night.
I didn't even look at the schedule yet. I talked too. I didn't even look at the schedule yet, but I'm like, oh, good. You're going to be there too.
Yeah,
okay,
so I'm going to be there. And then
at Paravation in Strasburg, Virginia.
Yes. Yes. And then I got the Gettysburg Bash. And then I got, what else am I doing? I think a couple more podcasts coming up. And then I'm going to, with actually Christy and Donnie and Spirit Guides, we're going out to some place in Pennsylvania, a prison there. And I'm totally drawing a blank on it. It's not like a real common one.
You should tell me in Pennsylvania, and I'll meet you guys at least for dinner or something.
Yeah. So we're doing that like week of June 10th, and I got some scattered things I'm doing. I work with this team, Lunar Paranormal. Okay. It's this lady and her husband Cherie and Chris. We're going to do something at Swannanoa. There's an event in June in Swannanoa. I'm going to help out with that. So
nice.
Yeah, just a little bit of here and there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, make sure that you follow.
What said prison? I hear.
Prison? Yeah, I see.
Did I hear prison?
Yeah,
Wes is like,
down for that. We
yes,
can vote
Wes.
for you with that.
Let's get Wes there.
That's
right. For my calendar, I don't know what the name of the place is.
Don, if you don't know Wes Coleman, you need to get to know this guy.
Yep, and when people follow your pages, they're going to see where you're at, right?
I know his name. I just can't remember if I met him or not. Wes, if you're listening and I met you and I don't remember, I'm so sorry.
It could have been at an event.
But I know the name. I know the name.
Send a friend request there to Don, I'm sure.
Well, thank you so much, Don, for coming on tonight. It was so amazing talking with you. I just have such amazing experiences with you. And for anyone who tuned in tonight, make sure that you follow all of his social media pages, because if you get an opportunity to listen to him speak or go and do something with him, I mean, it's just amazing. And you're such a level-headed investigator. I think it's easy for people who are really drawn to tech or really drawn to the sensitive side of things to kind of at times get hyper focused on that particular modality of investigating. But when you can be sensitive or you can be into the tech side, but you can also balance yourself, which I think definitely is what you do. One of the reasons I enjoy investigating with you so much, because you can get a more level-headed perspective on everything. So, you know, if you get to investigate with Don, make sure you check it out. And
great.
Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have a minute to wait backstage until we finish up?
There should be some food back there and wine and some other things.
Good.
Oh, thank you, Don.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Oh, he's so awesome.
Yep,
I just enjoy that investigation with him so much. Those times that we got to, oh my gosh, it's so fun. And like I said, definitely somebody that, you should take every opportunity to go listen to and speak, and has such a really amazing real life balance between work and the paranormal. So,
well, that's one of the things we said when the show even was created, is that, we said we wanted to have all types of people on this show. And listen, when you get the opportunity to bring an MD into this atmosphere and into the paranormal, you're getting somebody who, if he's got that insight to say, wow, I can really see that, and I can see where that could be a possibility, that speaks volumes. That's some of your scientific community there that is saying, look, I've had some things that I couldn't really explain. I don't know. They weren't normal. And so what else does that lead us? So I really love the show. It was cool just to get him to kind of go through and lead us through that path of things over the years, and then where we're going, maybe even into the future. But what's exciting, folks, is you can meet him and so many other great people at the Bash coming up this year, which of course, Steve and Pam, who we all love dearly. And then some other great events. We got the Warren Paranormal Paracon in October.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, that's going to be more to come. We're going to be having some people on this show and some really big names. So many great things to come with Talking Paranormal. But what I would say is this: we really wouldn't be as driven to do this show like we do without you. And we mean that because it makes it fun to see you guys here. And then people even days later say, hey, I just got a chance to watch the show and I loved it. It was really good. So that warms our hearts. So as we always say, thanks for being a part of us. Thanks for the love and light you bring to the show. And
we want to send love, light, and peace to Bill Freeman's family. He passed away this afternoon with his friends and family by his side. So we want to send our thoughts and prayers to him and his family as well. And we are planning to be back in 2 weeks with our next guest, and it's another good one. So you don't want to miss it. Yeah. So good night,
Barry in the house. Pam Barry, the one and only.
That's right.
We love you. Tell Steve I said hi. 2 weeks, folks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bang.